But now that I had finished, the beauty of the dream vanished. Now, from this section here, right, we have written question 3. That answers question 3, right? Because it asks us, do you think that his reaction is appropriate? Right, that's the opinion that you're going to give now. But we first need to describe his reaction. Do you notice this question is twofold? And what we find candidates do in an essay, you'll only answer one or the other question and not both. You must cover both questions. Right. So, describe his reaction. Looking at what he says here, horror, disgust, absolute horror and disgust. And he is disturbed. He talks about nightmares here. So let's read a bit further. He says, the beauty of the dream vanished, and breathless horror and disgust filled my heart. Do you see how that's similar to Marlowe and Kurtz in Heart of Darkness? The horror, right? So you must be able to compare and contrast. By the time we get to week 5, just before you write your exam, you'll start making connections between, and that's what I'm going to put you into groups and get you to do, so that you're able to compare and contrast the various texts. Okay. Remember what I said to you at the beginning? It's all about intertextuality. We no longer study one text in isolation. Right. We study them comparatively. Okay. And disgust filled my heart, unable to endure the aspect of the being I had created. So he's unable to endure it. He's that disgusted, he's that repulsed by his creation. Can you imagine spending so much time trying to achieve something, and then when you think you've achieved it, you go completely the other way and you're completely disillusioned. Right. And it's because you were here, you were related, and suddenly with your creation not being what you expected, that brings you back to balance. Okay. I rushed out of the room and continued a long time traversing my bedchamber, unable to compose my mind to sleep. So, suffering from insomnia. That answers some of question 2 as well, doesn't it? Physical reaction, right? You couldn't sleep. At length, lassitude succeeded to the tumult. Right, now I've written these definitions in here for you. Obviously, you're not going to write this in your books, okay? Lassitude is the state of physical or mental weariness, okay? Like a lethargy. You know when you say, I feel lethargic, okay? The abstract noun is lethargy, lethargy. That's how you pronounce it, not lethargy, please, okay? Lethargy, okay? So lassitude, the state of physical or mental weariness. So kind of lethargy. In other words, he's not functioning optimally as he was before. Probably because he's burnt out. Because remember, he wasn't getting any sleep. Yeah, he wasn't getting any sleep. He wasn't going to function properly. Okay. At length, lassitude succeeded to the tumult. Right. Tumult, confusion. Okay. Tumult is confusion. How do we turn that into an abstract noun? Not an abstract noun, descriptive adjective. Come on, what's the descriptive adjective of tumult? Come on, people. There's a fizzer going. Next week, because I left them at home again. New bag, so I have to repack. There's not one person who can turn the abstract noun tumult into a descriptive adjective. Yes. You want to know the definition? I'll come back to you now. Good girl. Will you remind me that I owe you? Tumultuous. Excellent. Tumultuous. Tumultuous. Tumult. U-O-U-S. Excellent. Well done. What's your name again? Kiara. Oh, Liara. Liara. From King's. Okay. Stunning. There's a Kiara from Maragon as well. I was mixing you two up. Okay. Right. Tumultuous, meaning confusing. Okay, but tumult means confusion. Right, so that's another thing. He was confused. Right. So do you see all the reactions? But you see what I'm doing every time? I'm going to the text and I'm using the text as my substantiation. Remember P, okay? Make the statement was? Go back, point. Make the point. Good, point. What was the E? Substantiate is evidence. What's the third E? Explain, draw the conclusion. Link. In other words, link it back to the topic. Okay. So, and I threw myself on the bed in my clothes. Endeavoring to seek a few moments of forgetfulness. He's actually trying to pretend this hasn't happened. And he's trying to pretend that this monster does not exist and that he's had no part of it. Is that normal? No, that's called a dissociative disorder. Okay, he's dissociating, all right. He's having a bipolar moment, all right, as we all do now and then, okay. Do you know what bipolar disorder is? Yes. Okay, it's when you're infatuated with an idea of what you think your life should be like. I'm going to say that again. You're infatuated with an idea of what you think your life should be like, instead of just being grateful for it is the way it is. Okay, so you're wanting to exist there. So what you're doing, you're living in fantasy world, la la land, you know, okay? You're living in fantasy world, exactly the diagram I showed you, so you're related, you're there, all right? And reality's here, and so what compensates? You become depressed. Manic depressive. So you're either very up or very down. Okay, so he was very up, and I'm mentioning this to you because we're going to read the section just now about sociopaths and psychopaths. All right, so you need to understand the psychology behind these characters, or you won't appreciate them for who they really are. Okay, yes, love?
Sorry, isn't bipolar also when you have like really high highs and like really
That's not, no, it definitely is that. It's exactly that. You're either very high or very low. In other words, you're not here. And both are unhealthy. And both create social disorders. Sociopaths and psychopaths.
Can you bipolar without actually having?
Say again?
Can you bipolar?
Yes.
Can you be bipolar?
And live a normal life. Yes, on medication, yes. And if you get the right kind of advice and counselling, and you start to appreciate your life for the way it is and realise that there's actually nothing wrong with it, I help people like that all the time. I do, okay. Because they have this fantasy of they should have been something their parents told them they should. Oh, I could have amounted to more in my life. And I say to them, according to whom? No, my mom wanted me to become this. Okay, what did you want to become? No, I wanted to do this. Okay, so there's still time. And then I get them back to reality. Okay. And then they start appreciating themselves for who they are and not what someone else is trying to enforce on them. Okay. So that's part of it. That's part of it. So you can live a very comfortable existence. Some people still need medication. Eventually some people go off their medication. Okay, it's possible. Definitely is possible. Right, so that answers question 2 and then some of question 3 as well. So this is mainly question 3, this section. Right. He then says, but it was in vain. I slept indeed, but I was disturbed. You see all the words I'm blocking out here. Look for the emotive language, because they could ask you, how does this author make use of emotive language in order to, and then they'll give you the quotation, refer to at least 2 texts from your anthology. That's the kind of question they're going to ask you. Okay. And I was disturbed by the wildest dreams. Okay. Disturbed by wildest dreams, those can only be nightmares. Okay. Those can only be nightmares. So, we have, to summarize for question 3, horror and disgust. We have sleeplessness, we have the insomnia, forgetfulness, wanting to just block everything out. Okay. Runaway. Okay. Runaway. It mentions how he's disturbed, and then he's also having nightmares. Right, and then we spoke about the other physical stuff in question 2. All right. Then I want you to go to question 4. Let me just... Right, I'm going to take a break now.